Get started. For those of you out here, I trust you had a great night out of town, and we hope you found value in our sessions yesterday. We spoke about governance, security, infrastructure, ops. There's so much more to talk about today as well. And we have a great lineup of speakers, keynotes, as well as panels and tracks for all of you today. In addition, I would also encourage all of you to make most of your time by visiting our sponsors in the lounge, and take your IDs and your cards. Make sure you scan it out there. Make some new connections, network, talk to them, brainstorm them for ideas. That's what they're here to help you all. And very, very important for us is please fill out the delegate survey. So that will ensure we make it bigger and better for all of you next year with all the feedback that you give us. LinkedIn community. So if you haven't already, please join our Big Data LinkedIn community by scanning the QR code on signage throughout the event floor. We'd love to see you there and participate. And after the session, we have 4 exciting tracks running simultaneously. Track 1 is going to be highly regulated, high data sensitivity. It's here in the main room. Track 2 is public trust and mission driven. Track 3 is limited, regulated, and commercially driven. And track 4 is industrial and operational. The other tracks are outside. There is signage everywhere. You can also ask staff for help, and they will point you in the right direction. Okay, so before I start, I would like to thank our amazing sponsors for being a huge part of our summit. So let's give our sponsors a big round of applause. You really don't want to miss this level of innovation and expertise, so take full advantage of the opportunities to meet them, spend time with them at their booths, pick their brains, and they are here to help you, as I mentioned before. So, who's ready to begin day 2 of Big Data and Analytics Summit? Come on, yeah, amazing. To start the day, we are talking about the state of data and AI in Canada. Current constraints, maturity gaps, and the road ahead. To share his expertise, please welcome Director of AI Fabric at Bell, Sam Collins.
Thank you. Whew, welcome everyone. It is so good to see so many bright faces this early in the morning. I'm so happy to be here. And I want to be clear, I'm not here to sell you anything. I could, and I would love to, after this session, but I'm here because I'm on a mission. And I believe that every single person in this room is critical to that mission. And I want you to stand beside me in furthering that mission for all of Canada. I'm on a mission, and what wakes me up in the day to go to work and to build AI solutions in Canada is to build an industry on AI in Canada, to stop the historical brain drain of talent outside of our borders, to stop becoming an export economy on the tech and the solutions that we build, and to start actually building jobs, building our economy, leveraging the current Wild West gold rush that is AI industrialization. I want us to build solutions that deliver real, tangible value to Canadians and that meet Canadian values. And that starts, first and foremost, with the people who are behind the data that feeds into these systems, the people in this room, the leaders at these organizations who are facing the kinds of challenges that we all are in productizing and productionalizing AI solutions. So, with that said, let me tell you a little bit about the current state of where we are and provide you a bit of a roadmap to actually overcoming the challenges that we're all facing right now. So I want to talk a little bit about where we are today. Everyone is accelerating AI adoption. Everyone is faced with the same challenge right now of you've got to get AI, you've got to have an AI strategy, you've got to shove AI into your product. But the reality is that there's a big gap between that ambition and operational reality. So like, quick question, you could raise your hands if you want. How many people actually think that your organization is maximizing the potential of AI? Not a single hand raised, which is exactly what I expected. So I'm here to help you understand what these gaps are. I'm here to help you understand not, a fixed plan that's going to work for every organization. That's a bit ridiculous, but I want to give you the elements of what go into a good strategy and how to overcome the biggest challenges that we're all facing. Something that can help you build sovereign AI foundations, an AI that really works for Canadians. Again, you are at the forefront of the current revolution. You are at the forefront of this mission that I'm trying to bring you all along on. You're managing the data, you're managing the experiences of consumers, you're managing the systems and organizations behind this revolution, and you have the power to shape the future of our country in your hands. Now, like I said, everyone's trying to adopt AI. The reality is 93% of business leaders are actively engaging with AI in some form and trying to wrap their heads around how they leverage this new technology. But the fact is, only about 12% of them are actually doing anything with it meaningfully. We have this amazing edge to adopt. We have all this pressure in the financial industry and healthcare and agriculture, all this interest in these amazing use cases that are sitting on paper but haven't made it all the way to actually changing people's lives. I call this the ambition to operate. Can't call it anything, it seems. I'm calling it the ambition to operational reality gap. We have this humongous, admittedly, gap to compete in industrializing AI properly in Canada, to keep talent in Canada and keep our data in our hands, but it's a surmountable challenge. It's something that we can all actually do, and that's starting to happen. And that comes with good data to feed these systems, and it comes with good leadership to know exactly what to do to tip the needle and to move us forward. So it's not an abstract problem. I think that what people struggle with day to day is there's this big demand, and people are trying to shove AI down your throats, and it feels very abstract. It's like, what do you want me to do with this? If I tried to shove Microsoft Excel on my dog, he wouldn't know what the hell to do with it. But the reality is, we're not dogs, first of all. But moreover, there's real concrete issues that keep us from getting value from these technologies. We have, first and foremost, I'm sure a lot of you know, very fragmented data. Our systems are largely legacy. Data in 10, 15 plus systems, and you got to pay to move it around, and you have to pay people to orchestrate jobs constantly. Things are changing. Data is failing to actually represent what it's supposed to represent. And you have ownership models with really ambiguous accountability. Nobody knows where data is coming from, who owns data models, and where it's supposed to go. And that compounds over time from people sort of, doing their day-to-day job and trying to get through each day. And over time, this creates this technological debt that keeps us from leveraging the data that we have to do really impressive things. We also have talent shortages. Like I said, there's a big brain drain out, especially in the United States, but globally. We have some of the best tech talent in the world coming out of Canada, but not a lot of it is staying here. And the reality in Canada is that more than half of IT leaders feel like they're lacking skilled staff to do the jobs that they need to do. So we're lacking the talent to fix these core problems. And then there's regulatory pressure. I think regulation is actually a really good thing. We should all be responsible in how we use technology, but it adds an immense barrier to change. It adds these incredible constraints that are valuable in the long term, but that put our focus on, okay, how do I meet this specific set of guidelines and rules? And you end up taping together a system instead of building something from scratch that is truly made for value. And then coming back, we have this ambition gap. We have lots of great ideas from very smart people, but no ability to actually execute on them. And that gap is widening. And it threatens our ability to compete globally. It threatens our ability to stay sovereign and keep our own systems and data in our hands as companies from other countries are able to accelerate faster and take over this market. You are the ones with the power to solve this. Now, realizing I didn't move my slides, we've all seen this phenomenon, what you're seeing on screen. This is sort of everyone wants to do POCs, everyone wants to do AI pilots. So, oh yeah, that's great, I've got this really good idea, it's got good ROI on paper, let's use AI to transform a particular system to power our analytics better. The reality is that only 2%, despite massive investment into AI POCs, only 2% of Canadian business leaders are actually seeing tangible return on their investment. These POCs are dying at the pilot stage, even though on paper they look great. And it comes back to these fundamental gaps, is that, yeah, on paper and in a tight environment where it's easy to experiment, these solutions do work. It's not that the technology doesn't work. We see it work elsewhere. We see organizations globally getting value. But in Canada, we have this very legacy issue where we're not able to push past those pilots. We lack the ability to go beyond that bench scale because our systems are not ready for it. Because our talent is not ready for it. We're not investing in the right people to build those systems to get that value. We're lacking the governance, infrastructure, and cross-functional alignment that it takes to go beyond the bench and into production, into actually affecting consumers. Only 20% are seeing revenue growth when they go to production, and again, only 2% are actually seeing meaningful ROI. This is really urgent. It's a problem that we have to fix now. It's not something that we say, okay, this tech doesn't work, let's move on to whatever the next tech craze is going to be. And I'll admit AI is very much the hype cycle right now. But the fact is that if we put this aside and say, okay, this isn't really working for me, I'm going to move on, then we risk continuing to lose our talent. We risk continuing to be an export economy for other countries to industrialize when we have the opportunity to build a massive economy and build real jobs in Canada to keep our talent in our borders by addressing these challenges. The investment is there. And that's what's really exciting, is it's the perfect time to be in this industry. It really is a gold rush. The investment is there from the government. The strategy is coming from the government. You would have seen Canada's AI strategy come out last week, and I'll speak to that a little bit later. But going back, and this is data from a year ago, so obviously the exact numbers have changed, but we were tied for number 4 globally in the amount of investment we were putting in per capita for AI. $15 billion of capital. But only 28% actually adopting and operationalizing, and even less seeing ROI. That gap is so stark when you compare to other countries that are investing similar amounts and seeing much greater adoption. And it comes back to these fundamental issues that we have that are ultimately Canadian issues. We're a fantastic country, but we do have things that we've swept under the rug for a long time that are keeping us from expanding. So the time is now to invest. The money is out there for you to go and grab if you can figure out how to make it work. If you can align yourself with the priorities being given by the federal government, given by these programs, if you can figure out how your business can match those priorities, there is a lot of money to be made and to be pulled in to help you get across this gap, to help you close that gap and actually build your industry on this tech. So let's diagnose some of the actual concrete pieces. So I spoke a little bit to the high-level themes, but I want to talk about it from a focus that is more relevant to this room. Data quality, 67% of organizations don't trust their own data. They've got these massive data lakes, and they spit out numbers that the leaders don't believe at the end of the day. It's not the fault of any individual in this room, but the reality is it's the fault of a long history of systems not being maintained, of us losing talent, not investing in talent. Only less than 40% of businesses that are using AI are actually investing in training their teams on how to use it, which to me is crazy. You're telling people to go use a new technology that they've never been familiar with, but you're not teaching them how to use it effectively. Your data lineage is not there. It's not properly tracked. You don't have governance for your data such that the right people have access to the right metrics to be able to do anything with AI. You're being told to use this technology and not given any of the fundamental tools to do anything good with it. And that's a real problem. It comes back to leadership, but it also comes back to us, the people who are actually hands-on keyboard doing it. We have to make change in order to see the change that we want. Being here today is so critical, and I want to applaud everyone for coming here, not just because they're coming to see me, but because they're coming to learn and make changes in their organization, learn how to advance their organization, advance their own ways of working, so that we can get over this gap. I want you to think in every session that you're going to, how can I advance my organization's practices? How can I fix these fundamental gaps so that this engine, this incredible, powerful engine, can start running and delivering value, so that I can create jobs so that my kids can stay in the country, so that the talent, the immense talent around the country can be industrialized to create these jobs, to boost our economy, to make our systems sovereign and made in Canada. Now, I've done a lot of doom and gloom about here are all your problems. Let me try to help you fix them a little bit. So, things are changing. Admittedly, the ecosystem is not going to wait around. The gaps that we have today aren't going to get any smaller, they're going to get wider. The ecosystem is accelerating. New models are being released every friggin' week. I can hardly keep up with it. New chips are being released every 6 months that make the old ones obsolete. It's up to us to not only bridge the current gap, but to build a strategy that allows us to keep on top of that ecosystem, to stay ahead so that we can continue leading. We need a proper alignment to AI strategy, and I want to credit, the government. I have lots of things to say about them, but what I will credit is that they're putting a lot of money and they're actually putting out strategy, and it's important that we all find ways to align ourselves to that strategy so that we can make use of that investment, so that we can actually build on the capital that is being injected into our ecosystem. There we go. So, it's about building a bridge to cross that gap. We have great federal funding, like I've said. The recent BDC Lift program for SMEs are fantastic. But really, the good news I want to tell you is that all of these challenges they're not insurmountable. These challenges have been overcome globally, and they can be overcome in Canada, and in a way that matches Canadian values. You can transform what are liabilities today into advantages. What you need to do is, again, align your organizational strategies to the national realities, to where our national priorities lie. And when you start doing that, you will see massive growth. You need to leverage these investments that are being made. You need to go apply to BDC and to ISED to be a part of the change that we all want to see. We can all bring Canada to its rightful place as a global leader. We can all bring Canada into the forefront, not just globally, but even locally, and build systems that protect our data, that keep things in Canada instead of relying on foreign, hyperscaler infrastructure, things that actually keep us safe and that meet our values, that are sustainably powered. So I want to talk about a few pillars of effective strategy here. First of all, talent. We have to be investing in our talent. When technology changes, you can't just assume that the same person who's been working for 20 years without that is suddenly going to adapt. You need to be investing in your people first and foremost. You need to be educating them on how to use AI properly, what these systems mean, and what they mean to them in their day-to-day work. It goes beyond a 2-hour session from some guy in a flashy suit telling you AI, AI, AI. It goes into actually investing in a long-term growth of your people, investing in the tech talent that's coming out of our country, and it comes down to more than just paying people big salaries to compete with Silicon Valley. It comes down to generating missions for your talent that make them want to work for you. Like I said at the start, I wake up every day excited to work because I'm on a mission to industrialize in Canada, to build jobs. That's what gets me excited about working where I work. You need to find ways to create those missions for your team so that they feel empowered, so that they feel like they have an impact on Canadians. They understand that the work that they're doing actually means something. And that's how you capture really big talent without the massive budgets. That's how you get smart people excited to come to work every day. Then I want to talk about the regulatory landscape. You need to stay close to it, you need to understand it, and you need to build systems that, again, aren't just taped together to meet some rule, but that take that, understand where the government is telling you you need to go, and look at it holistically to say, okay, how do I architect systems that meet these regulations by design, that protect people's personal information by design, that ensure that our systems are treated with the right level of care, security, from the get-go. And once you do that, once you stop trying to add bits and pieces on top of your legacy systems and take a look at things holistically, you start to see this very natural motion build. You start to feel that engine run. And it's incredible. These regulatory pieces can be very empowering. Although we often look at them as barriers, they can be guidelines to empower yourselves to build smart. And then lastly, I want to talk about the competitive landscape. And this is really, really important. There are real expressed priorities from our government, from our people, on where these technologies matter. You need to find out as an industry, you may say, okay, well, I work in the automotive vertical, and that's not one of the 5 listed, but how do you look overall at your supply chain, for example? How do you look overall at the systems you're procuring, what you're doing, and how that can align better to the main goals of our country? And that will unlock incredible funding. You'll find ways to modernize your business that actually make you happy to go to work, that actually make you compete on a global scale. That's what's critically important. And we have so many advantages as Canadians. We have this collaborative spirit that you don't see in every other country. We want to work together. We want to help each other. We want to smile at each other on the street and be kind and polite. We also have an incredible diversity of population. We have so many brilliant thinkers from all around the world, from so many different backgrounds to draw on and to come up with novel solutions to problems. It's why we have so much great innovation in this country. And we have a real focus on ethical innovation, on responsible practices. When I first started working in AI, I saw responsible AI as a roadblock. I'll admit it. But then when I took myself out of work, out of my day-to-day, just trying to get my job done, just trying to get products launched, I realized they were helping me a lot in doing what I wanted to do as a person. And when I started looking at responsibility and ethics as a driver for my work to do what I wanted to do as a Canadian, it completely changed my mindset. It completely made me understand the importance of the work that I'm doing. And so that commitment to ethics that we have as Canadians can be extremely powerful in driving innovation that meets Canadian values. Because our consumers don't want to be burning rainforests to make funny cat videos. They want something that drives real value, that makes their healthcare services better and faster, that keeps their data secure. And when you focus on those ethics, when you focus on responsibility, you end up meeting your consumers' needs and giving them better experiences than you could ever do before. It's empowering. Now, I want to talk about sort of 5 key takeaways, actionable insights you can all keep in mind when you leave this presentation, when you leave this conference. And first and foremost, which is probably something most of you who are working in data and analytics already feel is important, you got to prioritize your data foundations. I think we all know this. If you try to tape more and more crap on top of your existing systems, it's not going to make them better, it's going to make them slower. Band-aid fixes are not the solution. You need to go back to your foundations and be willing to dig up some of that technical debt so that you are ready for long term. We are at an inflection point right now. It's not the time to keep relying on your legacy systems. It's the time to invest in changing them, in modernizing them. You need to cultivate AI literacy. Like I said, invest in your talent, invest in your people, invest in yourself. Take the time that you can, leverage, if your company gives you credits or time to learn, take the time you can to learn how AI actually can matter for you, how you can get ahead in this changing industry, and what it means for you in your day-to-day. And encourage your leaders to do the same. And if you are a leader, do that for your people. Give them the opportunity to succeed. Give them the opportunity to stay ahead. Embrace responsible AI. Like I said, ethics is not a barrier. It's a way of ensuring that what we deliver actually meets what people want to see. So that we're not pumping out AI-generated garbage, that we're actually leveraging these technologies in a way that leverages people's data intelligently, securely, sovereignly, to drive real value, to make people feel like we're driving improvements that matter for them. You need to foster cross-functional collaboration. This comes back to that whole pilot issue. It's really easy to make something work, on your own laptop or within your own team, but then you find that, all of a sudden these 3 other teams that you didn't consult weren't actually able to implement or do anything with it when you got it past the bench. So you need to start building with your other teams, with your coworkers from the get-go. You need to bring in all of your stakeholders and brainstorm together on what's really going to generate ROI. Because the opportunities are there. You need to go out and work with your teams and across your teams to see what will actually work and to plan effectively. You need to design for scale from day one. Again, you can't just build band-aid solutions on something that's not working. You need to start thinking from the time that you are piloting something, how is this going to scale? How is this going to work when I launch it to production? How is it going to work when it starts touching millions of users? When you do that, you stop failing in your pilots, and you start seeing actual products launch that people are happy with. You see features launch that change the way people interact with your services in a positive way. Now, our advantage is collective growth. I really want to call back to the start of this where I said, I'm on a mission and I want to bring you all with me. Please let the insights, not just from my presentation today, but from this entire summit, be the blueprint for our sovereign AI future. Please develop yourselves and continue challenging yourselves to come on this mission with me. Unlock value from the funding that is out there, from the guidelines and practices that are out there, and transform yourself, transform your organization, so that you can help transform this country with us. We need to elevate Canada's role globally with responsible innovation, with our collaborative spirit, and build on our national sovereignty. And your presence here, your commitment to those ideals, your commitment to robust practices are the engine to actually make this mission succeed. Thank you all so much. Encourage you to follow me on LinkedIn if you want to connect after, and open to questions.
I'm not sure if it is working. It seems it is working. That's great. We're seeing so much investment on the data center in Canada, but we are not seeing a cloud strategy. And we are in business of providing services, not only research. And those data centers are fantastic to support academia, having great research, having great talent, and create a new talent to export. But what is going to be the strategy? from your perspective, I don't want to put you on the spot, but that is the gap, having the proper cloud hyperscaler to be able to provide the same service similar to AWS, similar to Microsoft Azure, similar to GCP. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality is that we're not all going to get off the hyperscalers overnight. A lot of us have been entrenched in them for a long time. It's going to take a while for us to transfer. I think I'm seeing a lot of really amazing neo clouds. We partner at Bell with Buzz HPC, for example, which is a fully Canadian neo cloud. And I think it does have to start from the base. If you think about the industry, it's kind of like a layer cake. You know, you have infrastructure at the bottom that powers, built on top of networks. You have data centers that power all of these services to exist, and that is the first step in innovation, right? Like, you need the data centers to exist to be able to have a hyperscaler cloud on top. And I think what is coming, and maybe what hasn't been properly expressed yet, but from my understanding is actually coming, is better Canadian cloud practices and leveraging, the IP and the technology that may have been built in the US, but to put that in Canadian hands. And I would agree with you that our strategy isn't going far enough into the services. I think that we're focusing a lot on building sort of a railroad for services to exist in Canada. We're building these data centers on top of networks so that the best-in-class players in Canada, the best-in-class players globally can come build on top of it. But the nut hasn't been cracked yet on how we really incentivize those services. I think the LIFT program from BDC is a really good start, where you're investing in SMEs and startups to actually help them scale on this infrastructure. But I would agree with you that the first step has largely been investments in that core infrastructure. But I would argue that that's got to be the first step for us to succeed at the higher levels of the stack.
Good morning. Thank you so much. I'm Munir from CDW. So my question is, we often hear that there is a challenge of talent and compensation and opportunities. But do you think the bigger problem is with the data ecosystem that we have in Canada? We have a private but very small scale data ecosystem compared to US, and the government data is very much delayed. So every time you build something on AI, basically you are asking it to use your rear view mirror and look at the past, talk to me about the future and also the present. Do you think that's a big issue for Canada altogether?
Absolutely, our core data foundations are an issue, but I think that you have to look at it holistically. You can't tackle core data foundations issues unless you have good talent. So all of these problems need to be invested and solved together, and it creates kind of a flywheel of success. When you start investing in talent and provide incentives within your business to modernize your data systems, then that talent comes, builds better data systems, those organizations start moving faster, that brings more talent in, and they start modernizing faster and faster, and you create this flywheel of innovation that eventually fixes these problems together. You can't look at any one individual piece in isolation and think that solving that on its own is going to solve your problems. It really is a holistic approach to all of these gaps that is required to move forward.
Okay, just a follow-up on that. On the ecosystem, it has nothing to do with the talent being groomed. It's more on the government and policy level, companies like you, who has a huge influence on the government as well. So from that point of view, what are we doing with the ecosystem? And the government data has been so delayed, like sometimes it's 2 years back. Stat Canada, if I say, for example, you don't know what exactly the Canadian economy stands at this point, because we have to rely on a lot of the old data. Yeah, on the forefront, the figures are there, CPI and other, but the details are all from the back.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for the federal government, and I'm as a Canadian, I'm happy to complain about them anytime. But I do want to also give them credit. Like, there is huge investment, and while, yeah, the National Data and AI Strategy was supposed to come out in like December, it just came out the other week. The reality is they're still moving really quickly. When I do get to interact with the federal government, it's not people who are clocking out at 5, it's people who are emailing me at like 5 in the morning and then again at 1 a.m. I have to credit them for actually pushing on this issue. And while we might, as Canadians, still not be satisfied, and I'll admit there's a lot of gaps, I do think that we're moving in the right direction, and I do want to credit them for giving us the opportunity, even if it's not perfect, but to move forward. But I would argue that yes, better investment, better regulation around data does need to come. Any other question?
With the changing positioning of the government to more align with the European and Australian governments instead of the US now, is there a chance that the AI strategy will become stricter as it is in Europe and potentially change in Canada, or is that an opportunity for us to influence them?
I think that there's a big focus on sovereignty. I would love to see a more concrete definition of what that means for Canada come from the federal government. But I do think that, we named Germany, for example, Canada's AI Partner of the Year. You are seeing signs of that. And while, again, I don't think we'll ever see them say, hey, no more US hyperscalers, like, we're not investing in you, like, that's not ever going to happen realistically. I do think we're seeing a much stronger alignment to the EU, and we're going to continue to see investments being made in sovereign infrastructure in a very similar way. Maybe out of time? I don't know. Okay, I am out of time. They're giving me the cutoff. All right, thank you all so much. It was a real pleasure.